Jai Bhim, welcome to Bebak Bhasha show on Dalit Lives Matters. I am Deepthi Sukumar. Today to talk about reservations, to try and put it in a perspective from a very personal point of view. Looking at reservations, why reservations? If you look at the caste system, it's been around for thousands of years. And what has the caste system done? It's created an environment of pollution and purity. And so it has made some people pure and some people polluting by birth. So what has happened is that the untouchability has got manifested, and most of us, all of us Dalits, have been born as Dalits, have been born into a scheduled caste community, become untouchable by birth because we are considered to be polluting, and there are all the others who are pure and will not touch us because we are polluting by birth because of the caste system. So having said that, looking at it, what has happened because of this kind of division and the system that has been allowed to be maintained for so many thousands of years? There has been the entire Dalit community, the entire scheduled caste communities who have been kept out of education, kept in a state of illiteracy and ignorance and exclusion and discrimination for thousands of years. So which means that there has been in the entire country, the population has been divided along lines of purity and pollution and has a hierarchy, which means that wealth and education was concentrated on for one set of people, and the other set of people had nothing but ignorance and illiteracy. A community that has been kept out of the system, has not been allowed to be in an education, has not been allowed to even touch a book or touch a pen or touch a pencil or even read a word or even hear any kind of words or verses. How can we suddenly become equal to everybody else once we get the constitutional right to equality given by the Constitution? Is it possible? Is it possible that when entire generations have been purposefully kept out of education, for the next generation to suddenly come up, or the next few generations to suddenly come and get into education just because the Constitution has come in and brought in education for all? It's not possible. So in the caste system, we are talking about that a person becomes a priest, becomes a merchant, becomes a soldier, not by merit, but because of his birth, because of her birth. And a person becomes a sweeper, a person becomes a manual scavenger, not by merit, but because of the birth. So that's what we are talking about. There is nothing to do, reservation has nothing to do with merit, but only to correct the historical injustice that has happened over thousands of years that we have faced as scheduled castes and as Dalits. So that's what reservations is all about. So we need reservations. We need that. It's a kind of a justice system that has been written into the Constitution to ensure that people who have been purposefully excluded and kept out and marginalized and kept outside the villages, outside the cities, and kept outside are brought in, are able to come inside and compete and live along with everybody else as equals. And the point that is driven to protest, to say no to reservations, the point that is driven to try and challenge reservations is that after coming into a democracy, after having the Constitution, there is no caste. We find any number of arguments to say that why should we write caste on a certificate when you're trying to do away with caste? I think that is the most stupidest argument that I've ever heard. Because there is caste everywhere. I mean, are we purposefully blind, or are we kind of conveniently blind, or are we not even willing to see the real picture on the ground? If you open a newspaper, you will see caste everywhere in the newspaper, asking for matrimonial caste based on matrimonial matches based on caste. If you look at the most recent one-man commission that happened in Tamil Nadu, look at the education system or caste in the education system, we saw that caste is very much prevalent in the schools, in Tamil Nadu. This is with evidence. This is with empirical evidence of how caste plays out in the schools today, in the 21st century India, in Tamil Nadu, even in the urban areas, even in a city like Chennai, where children tie different colored threads on their hands to denote their caste. And so, by looking at the color of the thread, you know which caste the child belongs to. So, in this kind of an environment, looking at, and we are trying to say that there is no caste. So, I think that's the most that is the most dangerous and disturbing argument that we can hear, to say that there is no caste, and to say this because they're trying to challenge reservations. And I think as long as we have this kind of discrimination, this kind of segregation, this kind of exclusion, atrocities, and these kind of privileges that are being in one side of the community and the other side of community being completely excluded, as long as this situation prevails in this country, we need reservations. In any corner of the world, as long as even a single person dies because of honor killing, a single person dies in a septic tank, a single person even does manual scavenging, a single person faces exclusion in a school, a single person faces untouchability anywhere in any corner of this country, if it still prevails, then reservations must remain.